Well, good morning everyone, it's John Neal here, and it's Monday the 10th of January 2022. Happy New Year. And I'm going to do some quite unimpressive drone flying and even maybe do a bit of sign writing, especially for Mike. I'm on the road again, I'm working day and night. I'm on the road again. I'm not too sure how this is going to go because it's trying to rain. It's spitting a little bit. So I should be very cautious and see if the drone manages in this weather. But I've got a new phone. It's an iPhone 13 Pro Max. It's got a great big screen on it. It's quite heavy as well. It's making my arm's aching holding this up, and I'm going to do all the filming on here today. So with the camera, the audio is all being put to the test, and I'm at Coronation Walk. You can see over here is a playground. There's quite a nice area of land here, quite open, some fields over that side as well. So not interfering with anybody, and it's barely half a mile away from my house. So let's get set up and get flying. I'm on the road again, I'm working day and night. I'm on the road again, I'm trying to put things right. I'll keep you on the straight and narrow. Oh dear. You see, that's what am I that sort of a person? I'll just press on regardless. But it's more than just spitting, it's raining. So I'm going to have to look at it. I mean, come on. What's going on here? So I'm going to have to pack up and go home. At least it worked, and it worked in the drone worked in the wet. It's not tipping it down, but I don't want to push it any further. So let's close up, go back home. I'm on the road again, the white line is unfurled. I'm on the road again, I'm going to save the world. Are we on the road to rag and ruin? On top of all that, now I've got the bike onto the tarmac here. I now perceive that my front tyre's gotten soft, but at least it's not gone down, so I think I'll be all right. A sat nav for to guide our very soul. Likes his cup of tea because my hands are a bit chilly and it's not so warm, so I'll take this off so I don't dazzle you too much. Hang this up in my outside wardrobe here, and let's put this workshop gardening top on to proceed while the kettle boils. You have to have a proper kettle that boils. I'm using tea bags. In the past, old-fashioned folk would have loose tea and put it into a pot and then pour it out of there, but just a tea bag in a mug is all I'm doing today. Oh, sooner the better. It says on the packet you're supposed to do this for 4 minutes, which should make it very strong, but I'll go for about that much will do. Oh yes, you smell it already. And that, my friends, that's a cup of tea. Oh, And the next thing you do is put your hands up. That is nice. Right, so it's back outside. Let's fix this puncture. Right, I didn't know I was going to do this, but how do you mend a puncture on a bike? Fortunately, it's the front wheel, so there's no oily chain to deal with if I have to take the wheel out. First thing I've got to check is to feel round the tyre and see if I can feel anything that's gone in. When I cycled down to that little park, I did go past some people, some men clipping a hedge, a thorn hedge, so I might have had a thorn go through then. However, the last time I had a soft tyre, and I haven't had a puncture for ages, honestly 10-15 years, I don't think I've had a proper puncture with it going down because of something going through the tyre. The last time was the valve was leaking, so I just needed pumping up again and tightening the valve properly. So I'm just going to have a look now and see what's going on. I can't feel anything immediately, but it's not easy. If the thorn's gone in and I've just ridden back home, I don't think anything will be still protruding out the tyre. So the next thing to do is to actually take the wheel off. Now, because I've got a covered area here and these beams above me, I've got 2 ropes here that I can use to hang the bike up, so to get the wheels off easily. Now it's got the bike hanging up on these ropes. Now, take the wheel off. This is a quick release, fortunately, so just do that, do it a bit, and out it pops. There we go. Must make sure that the disc brake, I don't want the disc brake down here to close, so if I don't touch it, it'll be fine, but I don't want to pull on the brakes, even though the ropes are hooked onto them. So here's the wheel. Make it a bit more generous. Let's go into the workshop. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is to wipe it down because it's a little bit muddy, and if I just clean it a bit, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. And taking the cloth around there, don't think I can, now I can properly have a feel round, very slowly and carefully. If there's a big spike in it or a nail, I'm going to rip my fingers. But I don't think I can feel anything. Right, there's 2 approaches here. Once I've found out what is wrong with the inner tube here, because you've got the tyre, the cover, and the inner tube. And the inner tube's holding the air in, and that's what is failing at the moment. It's obviously going down. It might be the valve, I doubt it, but it might be the valve, but it might be just a very small puncture in there. I have got a spare inner tube here, which I carry. See, it's unopened. If I was out on the road, I could pop this in, but it's essential to find out what is causing it, because there's no point taking the old inner tube out and having something sticking through the cover, the tyre, into the inner tube and leaving it there and put a new inner tube in and then it'll just blow again. So I'm going to take the tyre off and see what's going on. This is quite useful because I don't often have to get my toolkit out, but this is the toolkit I've got on my bike, and it's always worth taking it out just to check you've got everything you want. And the first thing I want to use are the 2, in fact I've got 3 tyre levers. Now the first thing to do then is to deflate the tyre. So take the dust cap off, put it down somewhere where you didn't know it's going to be. Just here there's a little small ring, and I've got to loosen that one first because that holds the valve in place. But if you let the tyre down, it goes very tight on there, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to take that off altogether because the valve's got to go through the wheel hub. Let's just let that air out. Okay, so that's all the air more or less out of the tyre. It's quite a stiff tyre. This is a very good tyre. It's supposed to be puncture proof. So I'm really surprised if it's got a thorn gone through. If it has, I'll be slightly disappointed. And they're quite expensive, about 16-17 pounds for one of these tyres. Anyway, the air is out. The valve is now nice and loose, so I can push that in. And the next thing to do is just to ease it off here. And this is a trick that my dad taught me many years ago, and that is to get the inner wire that's making the tyre to put it into. I'm going to show you here. It's currently just there, and I want to sink it down here so the other end of the tyre is a much looser. So get that, pinch that in and press it down. So press the tyre into the well of the wheel, and then we can make a start at taking the tyre off. Make sure the air is out of here. Put the tyre lever under there. Go near to a spoke because you're going to hook it on there. Keep your eye away, because if that comes adrift, the tyre lever comes popping off and goes in your face. So the other side of the valve, put one in here, and if not a bit closer, there we go. Right, that's a lot easier now. And just work your way around, and after a bit everything should go nice and loose, and then we can carefully slide the tyre lever all the way around and get that. You can see that's the wire I'm talking about inside of the bottom of the tyre. That's now loose. So now that's all come off. Let's go back to the valve. Just pop the valve. You've got to be careful here because you can damage the valve. Not careful. Right, here comes out, the tube comes out. Put that down there. That's two things to check. One, where the hole is here, and if there's anything in the tyre. I don't know if you noticed, when I was out and about, I used this dinky little inflator, which is excellent. It's only small, and you pop that in there, tighten it all up, and that becomes the inflator. It pumps up the tyres, and it's very useful. It's not very big, doesn't get in the way, and I've only got that recently. I don't use it often because I don't often get punctures, so this is an unusual event. But back home here, I've got a proper tyre inflator. It would go on the floor, of course, and you put your foot on it, but that is the business. Having done that, we can now tighten the valve up. Just see if we can spot anything around here. One thing I can certainly do is now pick up the tyre and see if I can very carefully go around the inside of the tyre. Fine. I've got to be careful because if there's a thorn gone through, it will prang my fingers, which I sort of don't want, but I do want to know why it's gone down. So I do want to find the cause. At the minute, I can't feel anything. I'm just running my fingers inside the tyre to find out. I can feel nothing at all. The other thing to do is take it off altogether and have a look. There's one slight mistake here, and I didn't mark where the valve was relative to the tyre. So if I do find any puncture point, I won't know where it is relative to the inner tube back to the tyre. Oh well. To be honest, I can't see anything either. I'll just point out the actual tread on the tyre here is quite thick. That's got to be a couple of mil thick, and it's got a sort of a tough layer in there which prevents it from being punctured from the top. Possibly it could have gone in the sides, so I'm just checking the sides as well, but you know, I can't feel anything. The technology of these tyres nowadays is very good. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is pump it up a little bit harder and get a bit of pressure on it. Don't overdo it because it will inflate like a balloon, an aneurysm. So let's just take that off, tighten that up. All right, now I've put a bit more air in here The other thing I can do is just take my hand round and feel any air coming out. And the other very good way of spotting it, particularly as you're in the workshop here, is just to, straight away, I found it. You can feel it with your, and this is where it's coming out. It's the tiniest of holes. And it's slightly on the outside, that's the valve there. So I've got to find out where that hole is. And it's about 6 inches from the valve. I don't know which way round it was in. So it's one way or the other. Let's have a look. And anybody who really knows what they're doing will spot that I did not mark the tyre where the valve was. I should have marked it. So I know that the offending thorn or whatever it is near the valve, and I don't know where the valve was on the tyre. Didn't mark it before I took it off the wheel. But to be honest, I know where it is. It's slightly at the side here, and I can't feel anything. And I'm pressing really hard now all the way around the tyre to see if I can find anything at all, and there's nothing. Once you open a puncture outfit, you've got bits and pieces in here. That's the glue. I hope that's still functionable. And this is the other important bit. There's a little crayon to mark the place on the inner tube. Actually, this wax crayon was a bit useless. I used some of the chalk in the end. It was much better. Right now, the mending of the hole, patching it up. First of all, you've got to know where it is, so you've got to mark it with the little crayon. And then you need to rub it down with some sandpaper to roughen up the surface of the tube. Put some glue on, let it dry. It's a sort of a contact adhesive. Get a patch, stick it on, and then dust it over so that it doesn't stick to the inside of the tyre, and you're good to go. I found the hole again, it's here. I know it's just away from the valve. So I'm marking it here. Get this nice and dry, and then give it a rub down with a bit of sandpaper that they give you. So rough the patch back up again. Actually, that bit of crayon wasn't working very well, so I've used a bit of chalk, which is in there as well. Right, next thing to do is to take the rubber solution. You'll find it, that's if it's not gone hard, and fortunately it hasn't, which is another good reason to take all this stuff out, make sure it's working okay. Right, and I know, and it's been opened as well. Right, so we put some of the rubber solution on there. There you can see that it's on the hole, you can see the air coming out. Rub it good and wide all over, so it's a thin patch on there. There we are. So, oh, and that's gone quite sticky already. And now let's get the patch ready. I've got a range of patches here. I just need the smallest of them, so I'm just going to pull that one off and then take the backing off it. This is always good fun, isn't it? And if it takes me a bit of time, it doesn't matter too much because the rubber solution on the tyre has got to go off, really. And if I was trying to do this at the side of the road, it'd be crazy. Pulling my hair out. Oh no, can't do it. Somebody will tell me an easy way of doing it, right? Finally got there. And if you've not got a decent set of nails, you'll never mend a puncture. Now that has got to now go on there because that is now virtually dry. That goes there. Press it on good and tight, and you can see there's sort of an excess of glue around it, and that's where we really need a bit of chalk. to cover that up. So that's the patch on, chalked all around it so there's no more rubber cement around it. And to be honest, what we must do, pump it back up and just check it's okay. I'll put a fair amount of air in it so it's bigger than it would normally be, and I don't want to overdo it because it'll stretch that, because inside the tie it will be smaller than this. But there is, I've wet all around it, look, and there's no air coming out at all. So let's dry that off. And I think we're good to pop that back on. Take the air back out of that. Now, putting an inner tube back in and the tyre back on is a little bit of an art, I have to say. There's some tricks. Of course, back in the day, keep saying, my dad showed me this and this and this. Well, people had bikes a lot, were using them on an everyday basis more often in the past. And they would frequently not be very good bikes either. And they'd be mending punctures quite a lot because the tyre technology wasn't so good. So I'm surprised I've had to do this. I don't have to mend a puncture very often. But yeah, to put this back on, you do not need tyre levers. You can do it without that. This is the way you go. Right, first things first, another cup of tea. Another swig on the tea. Right, I've double checked the inside of the tyre to make sure there is no thorn sticking in. And I'm pretty confident, so I can rub it really quite tight, and I know where the puncture was, so that should be good. Right, I think I'll work with the disc on the other side, the disc brake. Right, we pop this in. As I said before, it's a matter of getting these rims, these wires inside the top here. The first one should go in easily, that's good. That's half in. Now then, you do it like this. You pop the valve in first. Find where the valve hole is. There we are. You pop that in, again being very careful not to damage it. So I'll pop the valve in, and I'll just do that fixing ring in there. Open the valve fully, because the next thing to do is to give the tube a bit of body, and all I'm going to do is just put some air in it. Not too big, but just enough to give it some body, so we can just pop it back inside quite easily, like this. Just undo this now, so I can get all the way around. So you press this in, and you might find it's a little bit like that, on account of it's not pressed in properly all the way to the side. So it's a matter of going around it and lifting and pulling it over the top like that, and with a bit of luck. Now I'm pretty confident that the wire in this side is not pinching the inner tube. I've got to make absolutely sure that, I'm going to show you in here, that the wire here is not pinching the inner tube in there either. So the way you get the last part of the tie in is you don't use the tyre levers, as I just said. You let the air out now, and you now need to work from the opposite side of the valve, over here, pop that in, and then work your way around. And as you do so, you think, well, it's never going to go over without some force. Well, that is, to a degree, is true, but what you need to do is, as I said before, get the air out and get the wire for the tyre, and you get to this point. So it's quite difficult, that last bit. You think it's never going to go, but you've got to start back down here again and push the tyre right into the well of the wheel. So push it in, squeeze it and push it in that way, and the other way, and that way it would give a lot more leeway at the bottom near the valve, which is where I am now. With a bit of luck, finally push that over. Right, it's finally going to happen. This is it, and I've gone round it again and pressed the wire into the well there, and look, this is the last bit, and it's there. Right, now take that back there, push the valve up, seat the tyre around it properly there, and we should be good to go. You might have noticed this has got a reflective strip on, and it's just coming off, look, so it's going to come off altogether. They're quite useful, these, but they're not essential. Let's just get rid of them. Right, that should be good. Let's put some air in it and see how we go. Well, as I've finally inflated it, the last point here, I just heard it sort of ping into place, so I'm fairly confident that the inner tube is seated and the tyre is seated properly. Just run my hands around it, make sure there's no bulges or it's out of place, and just have a quick look as well. But it looks pretty good, and I'm going to leave that now, and just because there's no point putting it back in the bike, and if it's all wrong I've got to take it out again. So I'll do that valve up, and hopefully that'll be done. All we're going to do now is put the wheel back in. And there you have it, the front tyre now fully inflated. And actually I'm just going to leave it for a while and make sure that it doesn't go down, but with a bit of luck we'll be okay. Well, today's the next day. You can tell I've got another shirt on. Look, I've got 2 shirts, and yeah, I've done some sign writing, but to be honest, it wasn't very good. I think I'm out of practice, so I'm going to do some sign writing for you for Mike, and I'll put it on another video which will follow this one directly. Okay, I'll see you then.